Hey, what's going on, Legacy Builders? It is another Thursday, and therefore it's time for another systematic duplication, and we're broadcasting to you guys live for us, replay for you, because we're in the middle of an amazing blessing family vacation down on the Gulf Coast. But nonetheless, we wanted to make sure that we could stick to our consistency and get some content to you guys for systematic duplication that you might find valuable and beneficial, especially given the timing. Hopefully you guys caught the corporate update today, and if you didn't, make sure you catch the replay, because there was a lot of great content in there as usual from Sal. And so you want to make sure that you take advantage of that. And Sal talked a little bit about the timing and what are some of the things that we should be doing in full speed fashion right now. And one of those was connecting with people. So we're going to talk to you guys for just a couple minutes this evening about the 4 keys to initiating new relationships.
I feel like Sabrina, the witch, has it. But I don't know what it is. There's something in the air out here. I'm like, I think I need to sneeze. I don't know if I need to sneeze. Anyways, I digress. The things that we're going to talk about today are the 4 keys of initiating new relationships. And number 1 is proximity.
So, Sal mentioned this today. This is the time, right? There's 2 steps to moving your business forward. There's getting people's attention, and then the second step is giving them the information. And so think of what we're discussing now tonight, these 4 keys to initiating new relationships. This is the getting people's attention phase, right? Before we can get to the 4th step, which is really the conversation, and you're not going to really give them a lot of information, right, about what you want to share with them in the first conversation. So you really have to be doing these 4 steps before you get the chance to give them the information. So you need to be getting their attention. And so the first one is proximity, meaning where are the people that you want to connect with? Where are you going to find the right people, right? We've been super blessed, super fortunate that, gosh, our personal enrollments here at Avoria Prime could be like a who's who list of red carpet network marketing servant leaders. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm not even going to start naming names because I would be remiss and probably leave somebody out. But I mean, folks, the reality is we've been super blessed for sure, but we've also put ourselves in the environments where high caliber people congregate, right? And so be thinking about that. You've got to put yourself in proximity to the people that you want to have in your business, right? And I am going to call out a few because I want you guys to have a point of reference. Did you know that Luis Rivera is one of our personals? Did you know that Skip Karekis is one of our personals? Did you know that Alan Delaney is one of our personals? Did you know that Al Franklin is one of our personals? Did you know that Ernan Lawless is one of our personals? Again, there's a long, Simon Jacoby is one of our personals. And we're fortunate and we're blessed, but we also understand that there are environments where people with ambition tend to congregate. And so just remember that, right? As Luis frequently points out when he's doing these self-growth Saturdays, it's rare that you'll find an eagle hanging out on the ground, hopping around with the ducks, right? So you need to climb to where the eagles are. There's lots of ways you can do that, right? You might have a church congregation you're part of, and you can identify people who have an ambition level to do more than just survive for themselves and pay their own bills. Maybe you get on LinkedIn and find some groups that you can interact with. Maybe you get on other social media platforms. But folks, be intentional about getting yourself in the proximity of the types of people that you'd be proud to get to say, man, I can't believe it. I've been blessed enough to get to be the personal sponsor for, again, think of the people, right? Corey Perfumo's another one. I mean, man, we've been so stinking blessed.
And now that life is getting back to normal, because it is, you'll be able to actually start interacting throughout your community, because of the people that we mentioned, every single one of them uses a different way to get into proximity with successful people. Many of them do, pulling doors because that's what they've done. They've been professional sales businesses. Some of them, like Luis, that we met through a meetup group. You know, and then you've got Simon Jacoby that's built most of his business all online. So don't relegate yourself to only picking one to be in proximity with people. We're in the people business, and we are looking for those eagles, like Ryan just said. So when you go out with a go-giver attitude. What can I give people? And the Lord will bring you the people that are right for you.
So the next one is acknowledgement. And this one's really simple, folks, right? So just because you're in attendance doesn't mean that the people you're hoping to connect with are aware of you. So there has to be some acknowledgement, right? There has to be an actual connection that occurs. Just because you're in the proximity doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself, right? You know, we ended up in a large, ultimately, environment where fortunately we got to connect with Skip, because from a very large setting where there would ultimately have been, over the course of that weekend, thousands of people, we were fortunate enough to get to a dinner table where we got to make a connection. But if we weren't in the proximity to start with, we never would have been able to get to the dinner table. It was at the dinner table where an acknowledgement occurred, right? Where now Skip knew who we were and we knew who he was, right? And then that then transitions into number 3, which is commonality. And so if you're gonna be able to initiate relationships, again, this one's pretty self-explanatory too, but you've got to have something in common.
And this is really big, even on social media. What is your social media saying about you? Is it attracting people that you would want to be in business with, be in partnership with? Because a lot of times when we go out and meet people in the community at meetup groups and through mixers and things like that, the first thing that they do when they get home is, oh, they seem pretty cool. I'm going to get on social media and see if we have further compatibility, things in common, to make sure that the gut feeling that I got about them really is who they present themselves in as their brand. So make sure that you're living synergistically. Do not compartmentalize. Make sure that your commonality, that you're letting people know where the things that are of interest to you, the things that you believe in, so that they can say, yeah, okay, we are in alignment.
Yeah, and again, folks, that can happen even just by very nature of the fact that, again, they're in a group, you're in a group, that can create the commonality as long as you bring it to the forefront, right? Hey, so-and-so, I'm connecting with you because we're both members of XYZ group, right? Boom, you just establish the fact that there's commonality. Okay, and then the fourth and most important one, but these have to go in order, by the way. You can't skip any of these. You can't jump from like proximity to ultimately a conversation without the other two would happen inherently, right? Like, I mean, in other words, if I'm just talking into thin air, there is no acknowledgement, right? There's no one standing in front of me. And if we have nothing in common to talk about, then the conversation is going to be futile, right? And so we have to have that commonality and make sure that you don't, I wouldn't go to a horse show and try to start a brand new conversation with Jolene about softball. That would be the most random thing in the world, right? So you guys, some of this might seem ridiculous and self-explanatory, but you would be surprised how many people miss these fundamentals, right? And so remember, the commonality is so that there is a starting point for the conversation, right? And so again, if I'm at a horse show and Jolene seems ambitious, I'm using that because when I met her, she owned 3 horses. And so, if I want to get to the point where I have an opportunity to establish a new relationship, I'm going to talk about that thing that we have in common at the point at which we're first connecting, right? So we would talk about horses. If I'm meeting her at a horse show, right, I might ask her, do you happen to own any horses, right? So I'm not going to dive right in and say, hey, this is pretty cool. You're at this horse show. You want to hear about my MLM, right? Like, or, that's just not going to work.
Do you want to hear about some software?
Right, exactly. Hey, do you trade Forex? Like, no other conversation taking place?
Is that a new kind of alfalfa? I don't know.
I think you guys are getting this, right? But again, there has to be conversation. Now, here's the other thing I would tell you. The first conversation, maybe even the second, third, and fourth, should not have anything to do with your opportunity or even their opportunity to be a customer. You can't, unless the commonality component is Forex, right? Then obviously that lends itself to a more rapid conversation that can get into the Avoria Prime piece to your puzzle, but I would not actually encourage you to just go dive into Forex groups for the sake of trying to recruit, because that's kind of disingenuous. I mean, I'm not saying.
Well, it's completely disingenuous, and people are going to smell that out faster than you can blink, because they're going to look at you and know after 2 or 3 sentences, especially if you're new to Forex, that you are looking to be a leech. That's it.
So let me, you might be going, this doesn't make sense, but we're in Forex. Here's what I mean by that. You can't just throw yourself right into Forex groups and expect to go right into an effective recruiting conversation. You're going to have some Forex dialogue that has nothing to do with you trying to, again, share something with them initially, because you're trying to build what? A new relationship. So you can navigate your way into Forex groups, but you better be prepared to start having some just Forex conversations. How long have you been trading? What led you into Forex? What style of trading do you do? What are your favorite techniques? How did you learn, right? You're going to have a conversation, and you're also going to want to get to know the human side of them, right? Like what do they do when they're not trading Forex? What motivated them? What problem does Forex offer a solution for in their life, right? Are they looking for more time freedom? Are they looking for the laptop lifestyle where they can do a Zoom to a big old amazing team that they're part of while they're on, the Gulf Coast enjoying a family vacation? But you want to find out what was their driver, right? What was their motivator and driver, like Skip talks about a lot. I thought you had something else you wanted to say.
No, but what I would say is I encourage you to get into those groups, because it's going to elevate your conversation and your understanding of the realm that you are now in. Because there will be things that come up that you'll investigate, you'll learn more about, and then you will be more well educated actually on what you're doing. And that will help you have more success. You can also get a lot of that education, at least the vocabulary, established by going through the training components that are already in your Avoria Prime back office that are taught by Adese Duncan. So if you want to have a little bit of meat on your plate before you dive into those groups, start with those training videos, and then so that you've got some chops and that can actually talk on the topic, then get into those groups and start the relationship development there.
We could have had a 5th C in here, and this will be a great transition for how I want to wrap this up tonight. But, number 3 and number 4, your commonality and your conversation really ultimately are the thing that's going to lead you to some credibility. And now understand something. The credibility doesn't have to mean that you're the it person, right? You're not
right.
Stephen Vetterall.
You don't have to be the expert.
If you're Stephen Vetterall, you can probably bypass some of this, because inherently there's credibility by virtue of your reputation and all of your accomplishments, your accolades. And so especially if we're talking Forex, right? The credibility is kind of built in, but none of the rest of us are Stephen Vetterall, right? There's only one of him. And so the rest of us have to absolutely, as it would relate to getting through steps 1 through 4, so that we can then have a segue into number 5, which gives us a little bit of credibility. And again, doesn't mean we have to be Mr. or Mrs. Forex. It means that we've gotten through that scenario where we now become someone that other person knows, likes, and trusts, right? And I want to give some huge props and acknowledge Sam Kemp, because he did all these, and I want to share a real life story for you. This happened yesterday on our way down here. And Sam is somebody who I'm still just getting to know. He is on Hernan's team by way of Sean Fields, a really neat guy, Christian man, really enjoying starting to get to know Sam a little bit. And I'm not going to give a lot of this away in terms of who the candidate was, but Sam was doing these 4 steps and was able to get me on the phone with probably one of the top 50 networkers in the world yesterday. I mean, this guy, I think you guys are going to end up getting to know him, because I think he's going to end up becoming part of this community. We have some steps to continue taking, but the conversation went phenomenally well. And why am I sharing this with you? Well, because I want to highlight a couple things, and then we're going to bring this in for a landing. But the 3-way call that we did with this person was the first time Sam had ever talked to him also. So this doesn't mean that this has to be a scenario where, these are only your lifelong buddies that you can do this process with. This individual was from a different network marketing opportunity. That's where Sam and this person had proximity. They did know who each other was, because Sam was very active in that community, right? So there was acknowledgement. It wasn't like Sam was a random stranger trying to get me on a 3-way call with this individual, right? Of course, there's commonality because, like I said, they already had history in a similar network. You know, they were in the same network marketing opportunity, so they have the
and they
commonality.
continued to build that relationship.
Yes.
So there was a friendship there too.
Yeah, and there had been some conversation by way of private messaging, but the first time they had ever actually spoke on the phone was during this three-way call, and that's the thing that where the credibility piece comes into it, right? The credibility doesn't have to be your own, and I believe that Sam's about to literally land one of the most accomplished networkers in the industry. I'm not going to give away specifics, but this guy, just about every big and small company out there would covet this individual. But he did these 4 steps. And the other thing he did was get himself out of the way. He just got the call set up, did an amazing job of making an introduction, and then enabled me to do what I think I can do best in serving all of you, and Jolene as well, right? It's unfortunate that more of you aren't doing more three-way calls. You're going to sit and wonder why some people's businesses explode and wish that yours did. Well, here's the first litmus test for you. If you're not leveraging your leverage line, right? If you're not, it doesn't have to only be myself or Jolene, right? You have a lot of phenomenal presenters, but I know that Alan Delaney is not doing nearly as many three-way calls as he would like to. I don't think Hernan is doing as many three-way calls as he'd like to. Al Franklin is probably the guy who's getting the closest to that, but not as many as he would like to, because I know what Al's goals are. And so really, there are so many of you that will see this message that are squandering one of the greatest benefits you have in this opportunity. Your biggest asset is to enable us to deliver credibility for you, posture, conviction, the ability to articulate, our conversation skills, our presentation skills. All of those things is where we can help you move the needle the most. So I was so grateful that Sam did it and did it right. And it was an amazing call. I enjoyed it. This is somebody who I would obviously look up to big time. And so I just wanted to acknowledge Sam, but I also wanted to acknowledge the process, you guys. So Sam did these 4 steps, and the conversation was a powerful one, and he leveraged the 5th one that's not on here, which is credibility. And again, I would implore all of you, you guys should be doing three-way calls like crazy right now. You should be harnessing the leverage from your leverage line. Again, I don't think there's anything I personally can do to serve any of you individually in a more significant capacity, in a more impactful way than doing three-way calls, doing connect calls or Zooms with you and helping you share this opportunity, whether it's the opportunity for them to just be a customer or whether it's a little bit more expanded than that because maybe they're already a network marketer like in the case of Sam. But if you guys aren't leveraging us to help you in that way, then you're slowing down your business. And so understand that we're here to help. That's what we want to do. That's what we can do well for you guys. And so that's what systematic duplication is all about, folks. It's that piece of it right there, right? It's leveraging the tools, the system, the process, your leverage line. And so dive into this, share this with your team. Hopefully you guys took some notes. Of course, this was recorded. Make sure you get the recording out to your team. We're glad that we got to at least get some valuable content into your guys' hands. Thank you for being gracious with us. We're going to go enjoy some more family time on the beach now. Thanks, everybody. God bless you guys. Have a great day.